You're the man with the plan. That's all we need.
We'll call this meeting to order at 6:33 for the City of New Fairview, our regular meeting for Monday, March the 2nd, 2026. We have a roll call.
Ricky Jones.
Pete Kozlowski.
Stephen King.
John Bennett. We have a quorum, and we're going to move the work session to the end.
Yes, sir.
So if we don't mind, we'll start with an invitation. And tonight I've asked Steve Long, second counselor of the bishopric for the Rome Ward of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Y'all join me, please.
Thank you.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we are so thankful for this day, another day of life. We are so thankful for the blessing to live here in New Fairview and the opportunity we have to serve the people of this community. We are so thankful for the Savior Jesus Christ, and the love that He has for us, and the way He watches over and protects and provides. We pray that the Holy Spirit may be upon us as we meet together tonight, and will lead and guide us, and we may be able to do Thy will in all things. Father, we love Thee so very much, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Join me, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Announcements and special recognition.
No, sir, we don't have any.
City administrator report.
And again, nothing for the report this time.
Public comment.
We have none.
Consent agenda. All matters of consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. An item can be removed from the consent agenda by the city administrator, mayor, or any member of the city council and will be considered after approval of the consent agenda. We have one item, approve the city council meeting minutes from February the 16th, 2026.
I'm looking to approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Moving to new business. Hold a public hearing, receive, consider a recommendation for the rezoning from A agricultural district to PD land development zoning district for the property approximately 16.513 acre tract of land situated in the Smith County School Land Survey Abstract number 744, Wise County, Texas, located generally at 2074 FM 407. The zoning is requesting a commercial property in accordance with sections of the commercial and manufacturing zoning districts.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I ask our senior planner, Steve Cook, to come up here and give a staff presentation, I want to let you know that the developer, Tom Mandickle, is here as well, and his planner. I believe they're going to want to have a presentation to you all as well when we're done with the staff report. So with that, Mayor, if you don't mind, just go ahead and open up the public hearing so we can have Stephen Cook begin.
We'll open the public hearing at 6:37.
Thank you. Stephen?
Thank you, sir. Mayor and Council, tonight we have a zoning change from a straight agricultural zoning district, which exists on the property today, to a planned development zoning district in which you can make all the different kind of conditions onto a planned development zoning district. This property is located on the south side of FM 407, just south of the more western entrance into what would be ranch land on the north side. So it's a little bit further east of us right here, but the property is 16.5 acres thereabouts, and the developer is here this evening. The property is intended to be developed in a mix of commercial and manufactured zoning districts regulations. We will show you the site plan here in a little bit, but The access to the development will be from 407. They'll have internal access throughout the property. It is deeper than it is wide, so it's a little bit got some access to it. It also is a little bit more encumbered on the property that there is a gas line easement across the northern part of the property, kind of nearest to FM 407. We'll point that out here in a second also. So there's a little bit of land arrangement. The intent of the development is that for the most northern portion of the development will be commercial zoning. Once we look at something more retail oriented, restaurant oriented, something along that, and that would be the first two buildings on the site. Further back behind that will be more kind of leasable manufacturing or contractor kind of grade, flexible industrial type of space, and have the access available for that. And then to the rear of the property will be individual lots that can be single lots or they can be combining of lots, and in order to be something like contractor yards or other kinds of things that will be more development, kind of in the similar business that the developer himself is in, and trying to find a place so that it is both commercial and generating sales tax revenue for the community, but also to be able to provide employment and jobs for the community as well. And the intent of this is because, again, the property is more deep than it is wide, is to have the more visible portion of that as the commercial, where you have street visibility, and so that is more commercial. And then the other properties that do not need to have street visibility in order for them to operate their businesses to be further back on the property. There's some other aspects of the zoning ordinance which we'll kind of get into here also. The ordinance is built so that there is a direct link to your existing zoning district. So when we look at commercial zoning, we look at the permitted use table of the commercial uses that are available. When we look at the manufactured areas, we're looking at the permitted uses of the manufactured table. In your backup, your report, there is a list of uses that the developer has agreed to not include and are prohibited in this. This is stuff like boarding house. Thank you. That's the term I was looking for. So boarding houses, pawn shops, and tattoo parlors, things that would not be an acceptable use on the city's part that we wouldn't want to kind of see in that location. We're really looking at trying to find more retail types of uses. As you see on the site plan, let's get a little bit closer here. As you see on the site plan, the north is towards the top of the graphic. You see kind of an area that is indicated with green and has the blue of kind of a retention pond area. There is a area that is from the northwest to the southeast of that initial tract. That's where the gas line easement is, and through negotiation with the ownership of that easement, they are allowed to cross it but not to be built on top of it. So there's no parking going to be allowed on it, and so it has to kind of remain kind of an open space. And that's part of why the developer has engaged a planner to kind of look at and site plan this in a general concept plan, which is part of your process for a PV, is to kind of look at how the site could develop, and then at a later point, once it is gained the entitlement of the zoning, to come back before your Planning and Zoning Commission and your City Council with individual detailed site plans that show exactly how the sites are going to develop, how you're going to be placing the parking that is going to be assigned as part of the zoning district, how that parking is arranged, and then also where landscaping is, and make sure everything is going to be in compliance with the zoning. A couple of things on parking and landscaping. Those are the two big design elements that are part of the plan development ordinance. First of all, that landscaping is kind of looked at holistically on the site, rather than having individual parcels having their landscaping buffers between individual uses. They're looking at trying to buffer the entirety of the development from surrounding property owners, which is kind of an acceptable way of looking at things, and then kind of loading a lot of the commercial, landscaping towards the front and the more visible aspects of the property along FM 407. Parking is basically looking at ways of creating efficiency in the parking count, based on, just like your zoning ordinance, that you would have parking based on the number of parking spaces on the square footage of the types of uses that would come in. Those are matched to your zoning ordinance. With the exception is that if there is an opportunity to utilize shared parking throughout the entirety of the site, that way you can have much more efficient use of the parking in areas and have more open space. If we look at, kind of large commercial areas where we have a lot of retail on different properties in that retail site, that's exactly what you have in those situations where you have total square footage and then you have parking that is shared among different types of uses. So that's the kind of model that they have proposed as part of this plan development. So again, this is a concept plan. This is based on trying to maximize what they could potentially build out onto the site, that it is intended to be a guideline for development. They are labeled the areas that which would be available for the commercial zoning, which is the north track and then the center building just to the south of it, and then the parcels to the south and the southern building that was indicated on this would be under the guidelines of the manufactured zoning district. With that is the basis of the plan development. Your Planning and Zoning Commission met last week in a public hearing. At the public hearing, we had several surrounding property owners who were notified of the public hearing, and they came out and listened. There was no further comments, but as a comment about your Planning and Zoning Commission, they had some really good questions for the developer as to how they're going to develop. They had some questions about the utilization of the concept plan as opposed to detailed plans, and they wanted to make sure that there is a process put forward that as individual parts of this development come forward, that they're going to be able to see it again. And that is absolutely the truth, and that's how your plan development zoning ordinance is intended to work, that you kind of get the entitlement for all of the parcels together. This is how we want to see, and these are the rules and how they will develop. But then we're going to make sure through engineering study for the site plan process that they are going to be built in a fashion that's going to be work, and they have the rules in which they have to operate. With that, staff is available for any further questions on this project. The developer does have some images of the kinds of projects he would like to emulate with this, and their planner is highly skilled at being able to provide more information to you if needed.
Council members, any questions of staff before we turn it over to the developer?
All right, thank you very much.
You want to key up Curtis's?
Yes, sir.
Curtis, as usual, sir, if you don't mind, we'll need your name and address, sir.
Absolutely. Good evening, Council, Mayor. My name is Curtis Young of the Sage Group. We are at 1130 North Carroll Avenue in South Lake, and happy to be here speaking to you, and hopefully you'll understand what we're presenting, but I'm available for any questions that you have. Stephen did his usual great job in kind of explaining the nuts and bolts of this. I'd like to kind of give you an overview of why we're here. My client, Tom Van Vickle over here, is willing to answer any questions as well, of course, but he's a local contractor. I think some of you at least know. And he has been looking for a piece of property that he can develop for users like himself and others to locate in this area. And this is actually the second site in New Fairview we looked at. The first one had some issues with it. Anyway, we've spent a considerable amount of time working with staff, both Stephen and John, of course, and others, trying to understand what the town is looking for here and how we can accommodate that. And one of the things we heard early on was there needs to be some room for some commercial development along 407. So we don't want this just to be a industrial manufacturing type site. We want to get some commercial development along here as well. So what we've come up with is the plan development approach, and kind of, cut it in half, if you will, or the part that's visible from 407 will be more commercial uses, then the part that you really can't see from 407 in the back will be where the more industrial or manufacturing type uses go. And it's a good concept that we're using here. The exhibit up there, you can see up there, it kind of shows where the property,
I'll scroll for you, that way it's a little bit easier.
kind of shows where the property is. It's a ways east of here on the south side of 407, toward your eastern boundaries. Go to the next one, and it's a little bit closer up. It kind of shows where the existing roads are, where you can kind of see red is where a lot of the local roads are. 407, of course, east of this property, curves to the south and then curves to the east again. And that is a textile road, of course, as FM 407, and they've got plans ultimately to improve that road. I'm sure that'll be nice when that happens. But so this property, having frontage on that, was required to give up quite a bit of right-of-way, dedicate quite a bit of right-of-way to allow for the future improvement of 407 there. So all of that is part and parcel of the process, and that will be dedicated so there'll be no impediments to improving 407 as we go along there. The kind of the blue areas that you can kind of see there a little bit are the floodplain areas. There's really no floodplain on this property per se. If you go a little bit closer to the next one, here is a more detail of the property. You can see there's some industrial type developments immediately adjacent to it on the west side there, and that large pad on the eastern side is, of course, oil and gas pad in that area. So we think, as far as effects on any kind of neighbors and those kinds of things, I think it works well with that. And as Stephen said, we're going to put in landscaping around the perimeter as well. Go to the next one. Here's the plan that Stephen went over. The property, you see kind of the third building down there. That's where the manufacturing part starts. The property, that's kind of also the top of the property, if you will. There's kind of a ridge going across there. So from a drainage standpoint, everything north of that will drain toward 407. Everything south of that will drain toward the rear. So that's one of the things you need to think of ahead of time, because you're taking pasture land and you're putting buildings on it, you're putting paving on it for parking and drives and all that kind of stuff. You're going to increase the amount of the runoff, or the speed of the runoff, certainly, and so you need to accommodate that. The large blue lake in the front there on 407 is kind of a dual purpose. Number one, we wanted to really have a nice looking entry. This isn't going to be just a strip center facing 407. It's going to be set back a little bit. And if we're going to put detention somewhere, we thought we'd put it up front where it would be nicely landscaped and really be a nice looking amenity, quality, signal quality development for New Fairview and everyone that drives by. So that'll be there. The reason, you can kind of see an angle coming up from the right to the left and then crossing 407. That is the gas transfer line there, and we have a 25-foot setback from where that is. We had it surveyed, so now we know exactly where it is. And we really can't do anything on top of that except cross it. So that's why it'll remain green. It can be planted and irrigated, but you can't do parking or certainly not buildings in that 50-foot area. And so the first two buildings are kind of making an L shape there. These are basically opportunities. We see this as opportunities for commercial development. And when I say commercial development, what I'm talking about here is restaurants or food stores or other retail type stores. I'm sure you're familiar with your commercial zone. It's basically the kind of uses that are in that zoning allowed within that zoning, with the exception of the ones that Stephen said that we took out. You know, no pawn shops, for example. Those are, you know, that one of the uses that we took out. We only want, you know, quality uses there. Tattoo parlors, tobacco shop, you know, things like that we didn't think would be compatible with this kind of a use are things that in the PD, even though they're in the zoning ordinance, in the PD we could say, no, that's not allowed in this particular development. And let's go to the next one. Those are the ones with the red dots there are the two building areas that would be under the commercial zoning ordinance. And keep in mind, these are kind of show the maximum building size that we think we could fit in there. When we come back to you with detailed site plans, they may be different shapes or they may be smaller. One of the challenges we have here is a lack of real strong water pressure. So, well, no, you know, we can't build these kind of buildings without the kind of fire protection ability on that. So, anyway, we'll have to, as we go along, do this. So we'll be back before you, assuming this gets passed tonight, with detailed designs of the kind of buildings that we're able to build along the way. And just to give you some visuals on those kinds of buildings, go to the next one, Stephen. You know, here's some other buildings that, you know, it's your typical commercial retail type center with nice materials and landscaping and all that kind of stuff. Go to the next one. You know, here's I think an example of the kind of buildings that you would see along 407 as you go through there, with you know, obviously parking, nice buildings with nice materials, architectural features on them, and landscaped areas, trees, and other things flanking the parking area. And that'll probably be all you'll see as you're casually driving by 407. But behind these buildings will be what we're calling, in the blue dots here, the manufacturing zone. And the first building there on top kind of indicates what could happen behind the second of the commercial buildings. That might be a loading area between them, and so it's screened from the other uses between there. So the first east-west building would have, you know, front doors and those kinds of things facing 407, no loading doors or truck loading areas or any of that stuff. That would be between those two buildings in there, kind of a loading court. So that would be screened from view from 407 and the adjacent properties. Then that second building would, of course, load also off the central court. And then its major parking and front doors would be on the south side of that building there. And again, this is a concept. Before this building is actually proposed to be built, we would come back to you and show you exactly what the proposal here. But it needs to follow the concepts that we're showing here. And then the 8 sites in yellow at the lower there, those are kind of the areas that would be, you know, not visible but accessible, because we have the fire lanes going all the way through here. And this would be where maybe a contractor would put his building materials, vehicles, those kinds of things. And the thought is that we'll probably, you know, there may be 8 sites here, there may be 6 sites, there may be 4 sites, there may be 5. You know, it's kind of like the whole thing, you know, how much of the sausage do you want here for your particular use? And so we'll work with potential users to customize the site that works for exactly what they need on those sites back there. And if you scroll through the next series of slides, you can kind of see these are kind of the look of the buildings that we see in the manufacturing zone. Something like it. Still nice looking buildings, but you know, a little bit more industrially certainly still nice looking buildings. And trees and landscaping and all that stuff. So, anyway, that's what we're proposing. Be happy to answer any questions you have or go from there.
I have several questions for you. So I'll start in the back. So is that planned to just be yards, or are you intending to have those developed into buildings?
We would expect there to be buildings there.
And those will be built by the developer or whoever leases those spaces?
Whoever would buy or lease that space would probably build their own building to suit that.
Okay.
One of the thoughts here is to give local contractors a chance to own a piece of property and utilize it and develop some equity.
Okay. Is the rear portion going to be paved?
The driveway will certainly, and then as it develops, yes.
So with that, I have a little bit of concern about how that ends up looking once it's built out. So some of those businesses, do you anticipate there's going to be heavy trucks driving through these retail areas here to get to the rear, or?
We don't see a lot of 18-wheelers and that kind of stuff. There'll be, bobtails and a lot of that coming in,
Because when you share pictures of North Lake Commons, I can't see big vehicles going through there.
This really isn't the size.
There's like dealers delivering food and supplies in there every day. It's not the easiest thing in the world, yes.
No, I hear you, but any businesses that go in there are going to have deliveries. But I'm just saying, like in and out traffic for several tenants in the back.
If you think about,
consideration.
the Alliance area where 170 is there, you've probably seen some of those buildings. Those buildings are massive compared to what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And those are the buildings, distribution centers and other things that just will have a lineup of 18-wheelers. We don't have the room on this, In fact, the loading area between those first two buildings shown doesn't even accommodate an 18-wheeler to back up there.
Oh,
There's
really?
not enough room. These are, that's not the scale of things that we're talking about here.
Because when I saw that picture, I envisioned, like, I live on South County Line Road. There's industrial suites across from me. They don't have HVAC, and on the picture it looks like summer size, and there is 18-wheelers parked in there, and they have loading docks. So that's why I was kind of inquiring about what kind of traffic you envision kind of coming into this development.
Well, as the mayor said, I'm not saying that, camp and a trailer won't maybe come in here. Maybe if there's a restaurant to drop off the food and supplies and those kinds of things. You see those kinds of things in commercial areas. But the big 54-footers that line up on things, that's not the scale of what we're talking about here.
Okay.
I can see it. An XP, 28-foot trailer, like an XP or FedEx or something like that.
Right.
And so the one I'm referencing that's across from me, the industrial, they've had a really hard time getting their spots leased because they didn't put any HVAC in there. On building, I guess it says lot 3. Would y'all, since it's manufacturing, would y'all intend to have HVAC in that building, or you don't know yet?
Well, the way, what I call these is kind of flex buildings. If it was to build something like that, flex buildings typically have offices and restrooms and those kinds of things in front that, yes, are conditioned.
Okay.
But they may have, open areas in back that are not conditioned.
I see. Okay. Yeah, 'cause I kind of compared the project across the street from me that had a really tough time versus like the one on 156 towards Ponder, where they leased out very quickly because they had air conditioned and there was just a lot of demand, so they filled it very quickly. So I was just asking kind of.
I wouldn't be surprised if all three of those areas are totally air conditioned.
Okay.
It's going to be responsive to the needs.
Demand. Yeah. Okay. What's the order of the build out?
Well, first thing we have to do is prepare the site. So the And then, you know, because of the water situation, we don't know. You know, that's kind of the next step.
That was gonna be my question.
Yeah, if we had sufficient water, then, you know, I think Tom's ready to move forward with, you know, at least one of those buildings up front,
Okay.
and then look for users for areas in back. They may happen simultaneously on that. But the size of the buildings that we can build are going to be dependent on the amount of fire suppression, you know, sprinkle systems that we can.
So would they put a well in for those, the small businesses up front,
Right.
or?
Well, we may have to, or we may, you know, I mean, it doesn't take much water or pressure just to operate a couple of restaurants.
Right.
You know, it's that kind of thing.
We would like to try and hold out on the front retail spot and hope that we have fire suppression water so that we can maximize the square footage for the retail space up front. But we also don't want to wait 5, 8, I mean, it's indefinite. So we're looking at trying to get going with something towards the back, to get some revenue going, some buildings going by utilizing either a private water system or groundwater well septic system. But for the amount of money that this is not real cheap real estate anymore, y'all have turned this into real land, and so we've got to try and hold out in order to get our money back. If we end up developing the front without any fire suppression water, it really limits to my square footage, which at the end of the day ends up limiting, you know, tax revenue and sales tax opportunities for the city. So it's driven by kind of economics. We really want to try and hold off. But we need to get something going as well, so we'll probably start with a building that won't require the kind of.
And if they're gonna build their own, they could put in a well and a septic and all that. And actually, we're gonna have to get that addressed during the plan, because as you know, state law changed 2 legislative sessions ago that require, if you're bringing forward a plat, that we have Polk County, it's gonna have to show where the water source is coming from, or else they won't even accept the plat. Which if you're gonna drill a well now, you have to go through that study that Opportunity Groundwater Conservation District is, we have an agreement with them that they will help the developer comply with state law in doing that study. So more than likely, a development like this, they would be better off dedicating a tract of land to build one water well, and then from there they have their public water distribution system, at least for the southern part for now. And then that, as he says, Tom said, it gives time for the city to determine if we're going to be able to identify any kind of city water in the next 5 years, and if not, then at that point they can come back and decide whether they need to drill a second well on the front now to handle the development on the front. But that'll be, we'll have to come back and file a replat for that, and that's down the road.
I just have one more question. So I could envision there being some materials people or businesses in the back. One of the things that's a big priority for me is Dark Sky Initiative. Do we have something in here that protects us to have downlighting in all of this development?
Did we put anything like that in?
No, there is not something specific in the PD ordinance on lighting. One of the things that, though, that the developer had committed to us in the P&Z meeting, that they would look at making sure that all the downlighting would be spot down, and we go through the site plan process and again looking at each individual site as to how their lighting would be.
So we're okay to move forward with this, and we can have that written something later, is what you're saying?
Well, no, what I'm saying is that as we have gone through the development process, you know, with other developers, is that we had said that that would be, so without something already in the ordinance that says it has to be dark sky compliant, it's kind of difficult to kind of enforce that on other developments. But we've had a very good experience. Our subdivision, Settlers Glen, all their instruments are dark sky compliant, and that's part of the things. The state, in creating a lighting ordinance, has required that you have to create a new lighting ordinance, any kind of, to that effect, you have to be dark sky compliant. That's the deal. Otherwise, then the developer has the ability to install the instruments that they want to install. We can't compel them to do so. That was part of the same thing that we can't control building materials. So what we try to do is work with developers and say, this is what our goals are and how we're able to achieve them. And for the most part, everybody's been compliant with doing that.
So we don't have any, we're not under dark sky ordinance.
We do not, sir, because the state of Texas requires us to go through the Dark Skies International.
Dark Sky Initiative, yes.
Initiative, right. And we actually have to do a study ourselves first, submit that to them, as well as a draft ordinance, have them review it before we can bring it back for, and I believe the state needs to, or we need to show the state that it's been approved before I can even bring the ordinance in front of council for you guys to adopt. So that's law changed 3 centuries ago by the Texas legislature. So before, states could just adopt Dark Sky Initiative type ordinance, but that was taken away from us by the legislature 3 centuries ago. So we've got to go through the process, which we have started, but we haven't really kept going with it right now because we've got other more pressing priorities. But at some point, we'll pick it back up, try and go through that process with the Dark Skies International Initiative, and then get them to approve our ordinance and give us whatever letters required that we send to the state of Texas. And then once they say it's okay, then I can bring it to the city council for your consideration.
One of the things, John, that's really difficult with the Dark Sky certification is that you have to have kind of more of a citizen involvement, more so than just the type of involved individuals that you have here. You have to have a kind of a independent group that is promoting and going to all of the neighbors and really working at that. So it has to be kind of a groundswell type of movement for them to be able to be considered. So it's a considerable process. I didn't understood
The
it.
existing parts, I think you take the last down and replace them with all these.
Yeah, I'd like to maybe we can do like a work session so we can learn about that a little more, because I'd really like to dive into that just to make sure that we're all on the same page. But for me, the manufacturing portion is the biggest concern because, that's where I see like a neighborhood, sure, but I mean, if everybody out there has materials or something in the yard, we're gonna want it lit up for security, and I just have concerns about that being pointed down on. So that's just a big concern.
More efficient to be pointed downward. A lot of the for our part, a lot of the dark sky initiatives and ordinances that we've seen in other cities are things that we're willing to comply with. It's hard to say, whatever your dark side ordinance you come up with, we're going to comply with, when we don't know what that is exactly. But other similar type cities and towns that we worked in that have tried to look at dark sky and everything are things that we agree with and have complied with. So I think that's the intent here.
That's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything?
I have a couple. On the, commercial zoning, are those intended to be single resident or multi-resident?
Oh, you mean tenant or
Tenant.
user, resident, I'm thinking
Sorry.
residential, I'm thinking.
Sorry.
They could be multi-tenant buildings, especially if one, as long as that is built. I would anticipate that to be multi-tenant buildings.
Maybe like a Starbucks or
That would work, that would fit into the ordinance, yes.
And then on the, manufacturing, because when we talked about the commercial zoning, you had a whole list of, commercials that you weren't gonna allow, like the pawn shops and the tattoos and all that. Is there a similar list as far as manufacturing to kind of keep track of like chemicals and things like that?
That applies to both of the areas.
Okay.
So things like building material sales, that came out of the manufacturing portion of that. So we looked at both of them with staff, and this was the list we agreed on, and there's nothing that staff recommended that we objected to. We agreed on all this. So.
And then I just have one more question, and kind of more towards you. The sign ordinance that we had been talking about previously,
Yes, ma'am.
even when we vote on that, if that goes into effect before they start building, will they be subject to those ordinances?
Absolutely, yes.
Because that will play into the
Yes.
dark sides.
Yeah, we're looking at John we're looking at a timeline to, hopefully be bringing that to you for work session, within the next month, and, hopefully for approval at the end of next month.
Perfect, thank you. That's all.
Do we have any businesses already interested in this area, or that you know of?
I don't know, that Tom.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Do you have,
Business users that are.
do you have any businesses that are interested in this area already? or-
We do not, but we've looked at this market and it's gonna take some rooftops. We're a little bit early, but there's a lot that needs to get done before.
Before you even open it up to people like that?
What getting this zoning basically does is allow Tom the confidence that he can purchase the property and move forward with all that work and try and attract users.
So, is this what the P and Z and all that?
Yeah, that's what he.
And they are recommending removal.
We understand
Unanimous.
our goal is to keep all of this in-house and not sell anything off. The reality is that once engineering comes in and we start looking at the cost, it may be to our benefit to sell a couple lots off, but, we intend to keep very tight control of this.
I was gonna say, if we sell them off, are we gonna still require them to do?
Absolutely.
Well, one of the things that's built into the PD requirements is that we have a properties owner association, which is, it's kind of like an HOA only for commercial development. And, you know, everyone will have to contribute their share to maintain the common landscaping and those kinds of things. So just the guy in front there doesn't have to do the whole lake. He'll have help from all the property users.
Any other questions?
I actually have one more. So that prime area there on 407 where the pond is, that couldn't be used for a building because of the limitations with the gas line?
Well, I guess we could stick a building there, but it wouldn't have enough parking. You know, it's just, you know, it's a difficult site in front, but it'll be unique because of that big setback in the pond and stuff in there. So hopefully it'll really be nice looking.
Anything else?
Thank you very much.
So Mayor, we are in public hearing, so I guess you'll ask me to hear the
Would the public like to make any comments or ask any questions? No?
Close it.
7:16, we will close the public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, are there any final questions you have of staff before you enter your deliberations? Okay. This is an action item.
With that, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move to approve ordinance 2026-03-02-140 for rezoning from A agricultural districts to PPD Plan Development Zoning District as presented.
Motion, do I have a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll go to B, conduct a public hearing to accept public comments and discuss the petition by Duncan Family Revocable Living Trust to the city of New Fairview, Texas for determining the visibility of creating a Pioneer Estates Public Improvement District within the corporate limits of the city and consisting of 113.79 acres of land situated generally east of Pioneer Road, south of 407.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Again, I ask for your patience. We're still waiting to get final information for the development agreement between us and the developer for Pioneer Estates. I did hear from the developer last week, and apparently the MUD is now asking them to pay for additional water line crossing Pioneer to the property, and they're in the process of working out the details on that. Surely they are getting close to having everything finalized, particularly the out-of-service agreement, which again is what I'm looking for, because I want to make sure in there the city is not going to be on the hook for any maintenance or any capital costs as it relates to the water system, that it's gonna be run and operated. And they're the ones that are gonna be collecting the money on it, not the city. Sure that is the case.
Fairway Brothers was one.
The Fairway Brothers one.
They expressed that to me, that was one.
Yes, and so,
For both sides.
so there, everybody's in agreement, you just gotta get it through the process and all the lawyers review and ink it, and that's where we're having the issue now. I guess at the 11th hour, now the mud has told the developer, oh, by the way, you're also gonna need this additional line, and we need you guys to pay for it, and so that's the discussion's going on. So, long and the short of it is, I'm asking the council to yet again continue the public hearing to the March 16th meeting, so that we can wait until we get everything ready, because I do not want to bring the action item on this PID until we read the development agreements first and foremost. That's the stick that I'm holding over them right now. Any questions?
We gotta open.
No, it's not a public hearing, no. I mean, well, it is a public hearing, I guess, see if there's anything.
It is, what time you open it.
Yeah, go ahead and open it,
I'll open it for 7:19.
and see if there's any,
Any public comment about the,
PID?
PID for Fairview,
No, Pioneer Six.
Pioneer Estates?
Yes, sir.
No public. So with that, we'll close the public hearing and.
No, we're closing it, we're waiting for a motion.
I'm sorry, you keep moving to.
Yeah, no, I keep stopping you. So we need a motion that we've kind of drafted for you all.
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing to March 16th, 2026, meaning to allow more time for finalization of terms of the development agreement.
Thank you, sir.
Second,
I'll second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? City consider and act on resolution 2603-01-186 declaring the unopposed candidates for place 1, place 3, place 5 city council members places as elected and providing that the May 2nd, 2026 municipal general election to be canceled.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to turn this over to our city secretary, Susan Greenwood.
Thank you, John. We had council member place 1, Ricky Jones, council member place 3, Kelly Cannon, council member place 5, Elisa Schatz. These are the names of the residents that applied for each of the positions that were opened. And nobody else filed against them, and there was no write-in candidates. And I have certified that each candidate whose name is on is to appear on the May 2nd, 2026 general election of the City Council of New Fairview is unopposed. The candidates will be issued a certificate of election following the time the election would have been canvassed. A copy of the certification of unopposed candidates as certified by the City Secretary is attached hereto as Exhibit A. I'll be able to canvass the election the third day after the election, but no later than the 11th day. So the soonest I could do that would be May the 5th. And I don't remember when is there in May?
In May, good question, hang on.
So it'll probably be that first council meeting that we'll be able to canvass.
May 4th is the first council meeting, May 18th is the second.
And so we might have to call a special because I can't do it no later than the
Yeah.
11th. So we might have to call a special meeting
Just for
just to
protection,
canvass those.
which is not uncommon.
Yes,
We have to do
because
that.
the dates, they don't fall in the dates. So with that,
I-
staff is recommending the adoption of the resolution.
I do want to add that, first of all, I think it speaks volumes, council, to the fact that, especially in this day and age right now, the environment we're in, public continue to distrust their government. The fact that our incumbents did not pick up any challengers, I think speaks volumes to hopefully the satisfaction the residents have on the job that you're doing, or at least the services that we're able to provide for them. And then secondly, because we're not having the election, Susan, I've estimated, it's gonna save the city somewhere between $12,000 and $14,000. Because remember, not only do we have to have elections on the Denton County side of our city, we have to have elections on the Wise County side, but also on the Denton County side. So we get hit, where some cities just pay one county, we pay two counties, and we still get a discount because we're small. And so that's also gonna help our bottom line by not having to have that election. I also want to thank our city attorney and our city secretary, because I think they did a great job of continuing to research the law, make sure that we're coming to compliance, putting all notices out there, and then making sure that if we're gonna close this, we do this properly, so we don't have to hold the election, and then of course, when we get a chance to do the swearing in. So, election law, folks, is not easy. Thank God I don't have to deal with it like the city attorney and city secretary do. And what makes common sense is not what's in the law. I learned that a long time ago about election law. So, just wanted to share those comments with you.
It's okay for us to vote on this, right? Since we're on.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It's A-okay. There's no ethics violations, I assure you. Robin would have already chimed in.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-03-01-186, declaring the unopposed candidates for place 1 and place 3, place 5, city council members' places as elected, and providing that the May 2nd, 2026 regular municipal general election shall not be held.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mayor Council.
Receive, consider, and act on an ordinance 2026-03-01-139, approving the First Amendment to the West Fork Public Utility Agency.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll take this one. Mayor Council, as you are aware, we joined 8 other cities and some other public entities, including Wise County, to create the West Fork Public Utility Agency. We did this back in October of 2025. 13 of the 14 entities that had been working to create this ended up passing that ordinance or order by October 31st, 2025. Unfortunately, the Walnut Creek Special Utility District Board elected not to join the West Fork P-Way by that deadline. However, since that time, at their December 15th meeting, specifically, the Walnut Creek SUD Board reconsidered their position and voted 4-1 to instruct staff to go ahead and join the West Fork P-Way, which is great, because we really like them and we want them to be part of the West Fork P-Way. The problem is, the deadline has come and gone to be a member to join, so we're having to bring forth this amending ordinance, in our case, amending order for the county and the MUDs and SUDs, that basically says, A, we're going to open up the window again to allow Walnut Creek SUD, I believe they have until the last day in April, to go ahead and pass not just the original order, but also this amended order. At the same time, the county has asked us to put in here some clarifying language that Wise County does not have to participate in any wastewater projects if they do not want to. So that's part of this amending ordinance. And also at the same time, the MUDs and the SUDs asked us to make sure that we clarified that they were able to appoint a board member to the West Fork P-Way board, just like cities are allowed to appoint employees to the West Fork P-Way, and quite a few cities have done that. Apparently, it's not uncommon for MUDs not to have actual employees. Everything is contract, but they have board members. And so they wanted to just clarify in talking to all the other members, everybody was fine with it, but we're just codifying it out in this amending order. So those are the 3 things that this amending ordinance is doing that is before you tonight. It doesn't change anything, it's not costing us any more money, we're just allowing for the window to open up, as well as clarifying these 2 items that the county and the MUDs and SUDs asked for in the ordinance. With that, I stand for any questions.
I move to approve ordinance 202603-01-139, approving the First Amendment to the West Fork Public Utility Agency.
Motion and a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. All right. So at this time, we will. recess to executive session to discuss matters relating to real property pursuant to 551.072 Texas Government Code Resolution of Economic Development, negotiations pursuant to 551.087 Texas Government Code, discuss personnel matters pursuant to 551.074 Texas Government Code, discuss IT network or critical infrastructure security pursuant to 551.089 of the Texas Government Code, and to consult with the city attorney pursuant to 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. The council may go into closed session at any time when permitted by chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code or chapter 418 Texas Tax Code. Before going into closed session, a quorum of the council must be present. The meeting must be convened as an open meeting pursuant to proper notice. The presiding officer must announce that a closed session will be held and must identify the sessions of 551 or 418 Texas Government Code authorizing the closed session. We're going to go into closed session and consultation with the attorney, 551.071, to conduct a private consultation with its attorney related to pending and complementary litigation, a settlement offer, and or a matter in which there exists a duty of the city attorney of the government body under the disciplinary rule of professional conduct of the state bar of Texas conflicts with Texas Chapter Code 551. We will be discussing the Boys and Fairview ILA. At 7:00.
They're unhealthy and bad.
Mayor, the city attorney has another call, so we got to take your bill join for the work session. But I think we're good.
Where's the chocolate?
See?
Where's the chocolate?
Where's the chocolate? She won't listen to me, she listen to you guys.
John asked for it earlier.
That's right, twice even, I think. And I got told to sit down and shut up. No, you ruined your appetite, wait for the chocolate.
Oh, I am.
That's right. Hang on for the chocolate.
I think
There it is.
Yay.
Now we're talking.
All right, see, look at that. All right, everybody, take a bucket, pass it around.
Grab it here.
There you go, grab the bucket, pass it around. Look at Ricky.
Good.
We can just knock over this.
No, so much chocolate.
John, I'll let you have some.
Oh, thank you very much.
We're counting though.
Remember, I had a salad for dinner.
Did you really? Are you sure?
We're back in executive session at 8:05, and at this time, no action will be taken from our executive session. So we'll move into mayor and council member announcements. Anybody have any announcements?
I'm gonna keep those.
Pete Husbands.
Got chocolate.
So I want to give thanks to everybody who helped out with the candidate meet and greet. I spoke to them all afterwards, and they were all very appreciative. They said that, they really liked how we had it set up. They enjoyed the fact that we had the name cards out for everyone, so they knew where they were going, and they just said it was really well organized and went very well. The only feedback they had was that, if we could have done it before the early voting started, it probably would have been helpful. It had more participation, but other than that, I think it went really well as far as the way it was put together. I wish more people would have attended, but you can't really control that. So.
Well, and keep in mind, Mayor and Council, if you're wanting to do this again for the general election, let us know, because I would recommend that we start planning for it now and start it before early voting starts in October to go ahead and hold that.
And I think the more we do, the more responsible we get.
Yeah, and I definitely think we should do it again. I think, everyone seemed to enjoy it, the way we did it, and, we got a lot of compliments from them about it, so.
Yeah, so, we can certainly put it together.
Yeah, I would like.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I enjoyed it. I appreciate y'all putting it together. I'd love to help organize the next one. I think we should continue to do it.
I think it was well put together for a short amount of time. We had to be, as you wanted to get together.
Oh, yeah.
I just heard in the body, but I thought it looked great.
Yeah,
For us being a small city.
One area for improvement is, we'll keep working on Denton County, see if we can get Denton County residents to come out here so that the residents who live on the Denton County side have a reason to show up as well, right?
I reached out to Denton County candidates, but I didn't hear back from them, but I tried to get some out.
Yeah, that's all right, we'll keep trying, no problem.
Whole thing I like that is just, to echo all that, and a special thanks to Pete for organizing that, putting in all the legwork and making all the phone calls. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Pete.
Getting it done.
And then just to note, so I have a request for a future work session discussion on this Dark Skies Initiative. So let me work with staff and we'll put something on a future work session to help you guys understand what the law says about the process we have to follow.
And Bob kind of talked about that. Keep in the back of your mind, and John alluded to it in there a while ago, we'd probably like to have a follow-up for our strategic plan on a Saturday sometime in April, early May, so they can get our input so we can work on, they can start working on budget.
I'll need at least 3 weeks notice on that to make sure I'm off.
On that Saturday?
On Saturdays.
Yes, ma'am. So, yes, I can send something out. I would like to see if maybe we can have the retreat off-site somewhere. So I'll put some feelers out and see if we can find a location that we don't have to pay for, but we can use. Of course, we'll have breakfast items. I think we can probably get it done in 4 hours' time, maybe starting at like 9, being done by 1, so we'll be able to feed you guys as well, and then cut you loose so you can have the rest of your weekend. But I do think it's time for us to have another retreat, to have a discussion about our strategic plan, because there are some things that we have been able to accomplish, some things that we probably want to tweak, and there may be some things you want to add. And so all of that should be had in a work session discussion, a strategic plan discussion, because if you remember through my budget discussions with you all, that's an important document for you, it's an important document for the community, but it's also an important document for staff, because as we're preparing the budget, so when staff is meeting and talking about what's going to be in the budget, we're looking at that strategic plan saying, okay, well, they gave us a goal of this and an objective of this. How can we reach that? And what do we need to do, and what's it going to cost, if anything? And if you go to our budget document in the manager's message, you see where I show you what's in the budget, tying it into your strategic plan, goals, and objectives. So until I get that, it's going to be difficult for us to put that budget together. Okay? So if you guys are okay with that, let me start looking for some dates. Kelly, I'll work with you to see if we can find Saturday that works better for you. I'll start finding a place off-site, not too far away, hopefully, and then we can start getting everything together. I'll send you some information so you can start researching and just come in ready to brainstorm and shoot out ideas, and let's see what we can put together for you. Okay?
End of April 1st of May would be best.
End of April 1st of May? Okay.
That'd be more than 3 weeks out.
Yeah.
Because I have a grandbaby about to be born.
Oh, okay.
So, number 6.
Well, congratulations. Thank you, Mayor.
That's all I have. Anybody else has anything to motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. 8:11. At 8:11, we will move into our
Josh wasn't there for the don't get up and run.
So,
They said don't move.
we'll take roll call again, we'll run into our work session, we'll receive a report and other discussion regarding the interlocal agreement with the city of Boyd.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll take this one. Mayor and Council, as you read in the backup, hopefully, that I prepared for you, if you recall, we have an interlocal agreement with the city of Boyd for us to provide municipal court services for the city of Boyd. Unfortunately, at their February 17th meeting, the Boyd City Council had a discussion regarding this ILA, and they instructed city staff to go ahead and send us notice that they were not going to renew the ILA, which expires July 20th of 2026. We have received the certified letter with that notice, and we are going to be working with them to transition the municipal court back to them by that date. We are also continuing to discuss with other cities that are also interested in possibly getting municipal court service from New Fairview. So as I get those details hashed out, I will come back and visit with you, and then you can decide if you want to do an ILA with those cities for that service. Currently, we are still providing municipal court service to Paradise, and we're able to do that because we have a joint ILA with Boyd for law enforcement service. So as long as that stays in place, we are still able to provide municipal court service to Paradise. So with that, I stand for any questions.
Okay, so what's, I know we're at 33%, what is that? What is that number annually?
So 33 and a third, do you have it on, can you pull it up in front of you?
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you want to know?
Kind of what our share of that.
Year to date, what you brought in, right?
Yes.
Let me give me just.
Yeah, we can do that, because I know we have that ability to do that. Yeah, so keep in mind that the agreement calls on the municipal court for them to pay us 33 and a third of what they would be able to keep after you've paid the state their fees, and after you move money over to all the different jury funds, court technology fund, court security. We've got to take all that out first, and then what's left over is what you as a city get to use, and we take 33 and a third off of that. We started the fiscal year in October, so we're looking at October, November, December, January, and we just closed out February.
And in 5 months, we've only collected, 46,000.
46,000? So 46,000 is what we've collected from Boyd for our services.
We've had Paradise.
Yes, we do have a Paradise one too. Give me just one minute.
Remember, Paradise is tiny. I think maybe.
I can tell you that Paradise, they've been collecting, we've collected 5,503.
5,500?
Because their ticket count has gone up.
Okay.
due
Oh,
to
that's right, because of the
the Wise
deputy.
County SO,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
they're very happy.
Okay, remember, they had $0 revenues for at least a year. And so we took over the court, and then you could see the numbers going up each month, and particularly starting in October when the deputy started working here and started working in Paradise.
Boyd was also paying part of the security updates, correct?
So in the agreement, because we were their municipal court, yes, they were going to help us do any upgrades that we needed to do to the municipal court. And when the council went ahead and authorized us to do the ballistic resistant material to our municipal court, I believe that project ended up being about $40,000 in materials. So we asked Boyd for 20, and we came up with 20, and Boyd did agree and paid the 20.
That was my next question, is if we got it.
Right now, and it said that at some point, whenever they take the court back, we don't owe them that money back.
Right.
Yeah, so we benefited from having them as our partner while we were making these improvements. And so now in the future, if they're going to make improvements to wherever their court's going to be, now it's going to be just on their nickel alone.
Is the metal detector, those belong to us or they belong to them?
It belongs to us.
Yeah, so
We
both
bought it
the
with our
lawn
security funds.
and you don't see it now because of the elections, but that other metal detector, those are ours. Along with, like, remember, we also own 2 LiDAR guns, one of which Boyd is borrowing, one we have here for our deputy. And then we have 2 automated ticket writers, of which Boyd is currently borrowing and using for us.
Who does the bailiff?
So Boyd had been doing the bailiff, but our court, we're having trouble with getting them here on time, and sometimes they didn't even show up. And so our deputy went ahead and got bailiff certified, and he has volunteered, and from what I understand from our court administrator, he's been doing a great job being our bailiff.
And that comes out of the normal hours he works, or is that an additional?
No, that comes out of the normal hours he works for us, yeah, so we don't have to pay anything additional, and in fact, the sheriff has been so gracious that he's not charging us any overtime that deputy may have working. So like, for example, let's say he's towards the end of his shift, and he makes a DWI arrest, and that takes now, how many hours? 3, 4?
Especially for, he probably is more well versed than me. It took me 4 hours.
Okay, so, yeah, back in the day when
He
I
could
was.
probably do it in
3 hours,
about
so
3.
It takes a good 3 to 4 hours. Remember, you gotta inventory a vehicle, you gotta pound it, you gotta go down to jail, you gotta do all the paperwork.
That's one of the
get
reasons
the
that I
evidence.
hated
Yeah,
doing
it's a lot.
I'm nodding like I know that. I have no knowledge of it.
Well, good. Nor do I want you to, but the point being is, we're getting that level of service, and if it goes into overtime, though, the county's just absorbing and not turning around and charging us. Anything else, council? Then just to let you know, the next step will be, I'm working with the city attorney. We will be drafting a letter back to Boyd saying, we have received your notice, and our understanding is it's going to end on this date, and you're going to get with us so we can start to transition this by that date, and we'll work out the details at that point with Boyd on
I
these.
think that was gonna be my next question, like, what are we working on? Like,
Yeah, so
there's no arguing, I mean.
No, we just need to let them know that we've received it, and that we agree that this is going to be the date when the court's going to be transitioned back over to them, and make sure we understand the timeline that they're wanting to start moving things over to their control. Okay? Other than that,
We do need a clean transition,
yeah, so we can have a clean, smooth transition.
So are you gonna be teaching their new clerk? I'm just checking.
The mayor says no.
Yes, I agree with the mayor.
Our mayor said it, right?
Yes, I agree with the mayor.
If you would have said yes, I would.
We need to talk.
Yeah, could we have a little conversation?
Get my back.
Any other comments or questions on the work session?
Is it because of the money? Like,
You guys were there.
It's not perfect, but.
I have no idea. I know what they told me is not true, so that's all I know.
fair enough? Fair enough? I got you.
If not, any other questions? Do I have a motion to adjourn from the work session?
Can we leave after that one?
Yes.
Can I make a motion?
I second that.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? All right, thank you.
Because he said we could leave.
Thank you, Mayor Council, for your time
Just
tonight.
wanted clarification.
I want to feature more often. You guys were in rare form tonight.